Okay, guys, today for your bell work you had 3 vocabulary words to define, and I want to take some time and talk about them. And you might have found something very similar to this as something else that we've already talked about. Okay? Think about the word multiple, and I don't want the specific definition that you wrote down out of the back of the book. What do you think of when you think of the word multiple? Jocelyn?
Multiplication.
Multiplication. Okay. What else? Josh?
More than one.
More than one? Oh, so multiple of something. Okay, I like that. What else? Dylan?
I forgot.
Okay. What was that, the exact definition that you wrote down? Okay.
The product of the number and any whole number.
The product of the number and any whole number. So product means to what?
It's the answer.
It's the answer to a multiplication problem, right? Okay. So when we think about multiplication, 1 times 5 is 5, 2 times 5 is 10, 3 times 5 is 15, 4 times 5 is 20. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. What am I doing? Right. Specifically, it's what kind of counting? Skip counting. That's what I was looking for. It's skip counting. All right. So when you're talking about the multiples of a number, the basic term of this is that you're skip counting. Okay. I want you to keep that in mind when you see this term. Okay? Skip counting. Now, when we talked about factors, we were talking about 2 factors that create a product, right? And then finding the greatest common factor and the common factors, all of that, okay? Now we're talking about the multiple, the skip counting part of it, okay? Common multiple. What is a common multiple? Jocelyn.
Multiples that are shared by 2 or more numbers. For example, the common multiples of 2 is 0, 6, 12, and 18.
Okay, so multiples that are shared between 2 or more numbers. So in common factors, it was finding all the factors between 2 or more numbers, right? And there was an end set of that data, correct? Like if we had 32 and 48, there wasn't going to be a number bigger than 32 and 48, right? There was an end to it. With multiples, there's not an end. It keeps going. All right? So these are what they have in common. Like, for example, we had 2 and 3, and if we're skip counting by 2s, if we went 2, 4, 6, 8, and then in 3 we did 3, 6, 9, 12. Just in this, they only have 1 common multiple, right? So we could keep going and find some more.
Yes. Several.
Yes, several more. What about least common multiple? Gabby, what'd you get?
The least of the common multiples of 2 or more numbers.
The least of the common multiples of 2 or more numbers. So when we're going to be looking at your assignments today, it's going to give you an end set to where it's like first find the first 3 multiples. It's not go on forever and give you some data. It might say find the first 3 or the first 5 or something like that. You're not going to keep going and going and going. All right? Right. So we also use the acronym on least common multiple. We use LCM. Just like in greatest common factor, we use GCM. Now, in the least common multiple, like if we would have kept going here and found another one. So this would have been common multiples, right? Which one is the least common multiple? The 6. So greatest common factor, we're looking for the biggest number that they share. But in common multiples, we're looking for the least common multiple that they share. Because again, if we were looking for the greatest common multiple, I mean, that would be huge, okay? It'd be like never ending. Does this make sense? Okay? All right, we're going to do some problems together, and then you're going to have time to complete your assignment in class, okay? Any questions before we move on? Good. All righty. Please get out your paper, or open your notes section. And up at the top, with today's date, and you can put LCM for your title. And our objective today, I can find the LCM of 2 or more numbers. I need you to put that away where it is not a distraction for you. Thank you. I need your notes out. Wendy. Yeah, so today's date, LCM is your title, and then please write the objective down. Okay, we're going to start off with doing some practice just on finding common multiples. And with your instructions for this, it's going to say find the first 3. Please. Or it'll say identify the first 3 common multiples. List the first 3. Find the first 3. Any of those words, they're looking for the same thing. Okay, so the first one that I want to practice with is 2 and 6. Now, even though you're already writing the number, notice that I'm writing it just like I would when we were listing out the GCF, okay? Include this first number. So the number that you're writing or solving for, write it again, okay? So if this says find the first 3, that doesn't mean I'm only listing 3 numbers. I've got to find 3 common multiples, all right? So I might take this one out. Oh, I'm going to start, because like 6, I'm going to go till 20, okay? So listing these out, skip counting by 2, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Then I'm going to go pretty close to that with the 6, okay? So I'm going to list 6, 12, 18. If I'd listed one more, I would have 24. Well, I'm going to stop there and I'm going to look and see what I've got, okay? So the first 1, 2, they don't have that in common. 4, 6,
Yeah.
They have 6 in common. 8,
No.
10,
No.
12.
Yeah.
Skip by 2s.
And you can circle them like I am, or you can just circle them individually on one row, okay? 14,
No.
16,
No.
18.
Yeah.
These are kind of really bad peanut-shaped little things here. Okay, so do I have my first 3 multiples?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
2 every time.
Do you see that? This is what Chase is noticing. He said 1, 2, common. 1, 2, common. 1, 2, common. 1, 2, common. So that would be 20, 22, 24, and they have that in common. Good. I'm glad that you recognize that pattern, Chase. Good job.
So,
Well,
like, say you start out with 5, you go 5, then 10, 15, 20, 30.
yeah. Yeah, you're just skip counting. And, like, if you have something like 8, and it's hard to, in your head, think of 8, 16, you know, you start losing track, but you know your 8, then just think of it, okay, 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, and just write them out that way. Just 1 second, please. Okay? Yes, sir. What is your question?
I have another easy way.
What?
Yeah, and you use the this and use this one and this one and this one.
Using the division line? Okay. Yep.
It's like it's
Hold
like
on.
8 and 6. You have 2, 4, 3. No, it's fine. Like
Okay. Keep on. I'll show it up on the board.
Alright.
Okay. So, meanwhile, notice he said, he's talking about the division ladders. He loves division ladders. Okay? So if we were using 2 and 6, and we were doing like we did for the GCF, okay? And we used 2, we would have 1 and 3. So, meanwhile, how do you use this to find the least common multiple?
And you use left side of the thing and the 2 times 1 and 3.
So you're multiplying those all together.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6. Okay? Do you see that?
And if you have a big number like 20 and 10, and you have 5, 2, and yeah, and so you, yeah. And then you have 5 and 2, and you use 5 times 2 times 2 times 1.
Okay?
Yeah.
Do you see that? He's multiplying them all together. 5 times 2 is 10, 10 times 2 is 20, 20 times 1 is
21, so
Okay.
it's like exploded with the 2.
No, it's just like, you know, for GCF, we use just this left side and multiply them together to find the GCF. But to find the least common multiple, you multiply them all together.
And
Okay?
if it's like the 3 and 4, you just have these 2 numbers together.
Right. Okay, so if this works for you, that's great, use the method. If you like writing it out like this, that's great, use that method. You've got to use the method that works best for you, okay? Alright, let's do a couple of more and then we're going to look at listing the least common multiple. And I'm going to keep it on this page. Okay, so if I were given 3 numbers, if I had 4, 5, and 10, now, Milan's method only works for finding the least common multiple. If I'm telling you to find 3 common multiples, then you've got to list them out, okay? So, 4, 5, and 10. You might recognize, you know, that you can get 20 here with all of these, right? So again, I would probably go out to 20. So listing at 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 5, 10, 15, 20, 10, 20. Okay, so if I'm finding 3, what's the first one that you notice that they all have? 20. So I only have 1 so far. So I would need to keep listing, right?
40.
So here I would have 24. Yes, sir.
So we go at the beginning we do the 20 and then the next, I'm confused why we go.
I'm just picking a number to start skip counting to, so I don't sit here and write out a whole bunch of numbers. And then if I need to add more, I can.
I don't know.
No. I just picked that number randomly. Hold on. So I'm going to 40. Why do you think I'm going to 40? With this specifically, why am I going to 40? Anyone?
I have another issue.
No, hold on, I asked a question. Gabby, why do you think I'm going to 40? Say it again.
These all of the numbers can go to 40.
Because 5 and 10 can also go into 40 evenly. I need something that ends in 0 and, or that ends in 0, so both of these can go into it. And my next number that I've got is 40. Okay? So now I'm looking and seeing what they've got in common. That I've got to add more here. So I'm going to go to 40 on all of them, okay? You guys see what I'm doing? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay? What's the next one that they have in common?
48.
Yeah, 60.
60.
So I've got 40 in common, right?
Then 60.
So then I hear then 60.
Every 20 equals.
So every 20, you kind of pick up the pattern, all right? So if you notice that, if you find the pattern,
It's like you're skip counting but 2 by adding a 0.
yeah, use that pattern if you notice it. If you can say, oh, well, between 20 and 40, there's 20, so that means the next one I'm going to find is going to be 60. Use that to your advantage to where you're not writing those numbers out, okay? But if you have to write them out, that's okay too. Okay. Now, I want to look at, not that problem. I want to look at finding the LCM. So get that next title down. Okay, so we've seen a couple of ways to find the least common multiple. You can list them out, or you can use the division ladders. Okay? So let's compare those two processes, okay? So if we had, let's say 3, 5, and 7, and we need to find the least common multiple. Well, what's your question?
I'm
On which part?
working on common multiples or least common?
Both. Remember when we started talking about GCF, we looked at common factors and greatest common factor? Now we're looking at common multiples and least common multiple. So we talked about how we're finding the common multiples, and now we're looking at recognizing the least common multiple. Okay? Okay, so when I'm looking at these, okay, I want to look at, I'm going to set this up as the division ladder before I start listing out, because I want to show you something. They're all prime. I want you to keep that in mind, okay? So, if I'm,
Pardon the interruption, teachers, but all the boys and girls that are going to the 7th grade JV tournament need to be reminded to eat first lunch today. And then when everyone is released outside, you need to go to the locker room to go to the tournament. Thank you.
okay, so if I have to find the least common multiple, and I start writing these out, you know, 3, 6, 9, 5, 10, 15, 7, 14, 21, I'm like, oh my gosh, they don't have anything, what's going on? Well, think about the division ladder. Can anything go into all three of these?
No.
No. Well, one can, yeah.
And 0.
Okay, so what do you think? What's going to happen, Jocelyn?
You're going to multiply them all together.
We're going to multiply them all together. Why do you think that? Okay, and Miwan mentioned that. He said if there's like 5 and 7, you're going to multiply them together because you're not finding anything that is small to begin with. So if we started listing these out, we are going to go forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, well, at least until we get to this. So when we look at these numbers, we've got 3 times 5 is
35.
3 times 5 is 15, And then we're gonna multiply 15 times 7. 105. So if we actually wrote this out, I mean, we would be writing multiple, okay, a lot. That'd be a lot of, yeah, that's for,
Search on Google.
we're not searching on Google for least common multiple. Okay, so keep that in mind. In this case, I think that the division ladders are probably going to be your best friend in helping you from writing out a bunch of numbers. Now, in having to list all of the multiples, you've got to list them out, okay? The division ladder's not really going to help you. All right, so let's do another one together. And let's do 6 and 10. Finding the least common multiple for 6 and 10. Thinking about what process are you going to do to find that least common multiple? So if I'm using the division ladder, I've got 6 and 10. These are both even, so I can use 2. And now I have 2 prime numbers, right? Okay. What do I do, meanwhile, when I get to this point?
My hours.
I'm going to multiply them all together. 2 times 3, 6 times 5, 30. Okay? 6 goes into 35 times, 10 goes into 33 times. You guys see that? That process, if you use this, it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of pencil eggs. Okay? Do you have any questions about this? Jocelyn?
What if it's like all the numbers are even, but the division ladder just keeps going on?
Well, it's going to eventually stop because it'll get down to, it'll get down to 2. Or 1, 1. Okay? It'll eventually end. So that's a good question. Okay, I want to look at this problem together because sometimes we get a concept, and we understand what it's asking. It's real easy to look at the numbers, but you throw it into a word problem, and you kind of, explode a little bit, get a little sick. All right, so let's look at this one. It says Marco gets an allergy shot every 3 weeks. Percy gets an allergy shot every 5 weeks. If Marco and Perry meet while getting an allergy shot, how many weeks will it be before they see each other again? So they meet, but then they're going to meet again, and it's talking about how many weeks will that be. Okay, Jason, I saw your hand go up first. You're saying 15? What is your thinking? Okay, I'm not denying that 3 times 5 is 15. Erin, what do you think?
I have to agree with them because, like, 3 times 15, the first week they'd meet each other while getting an allergy shot would be the 15th week, and fifth at 15 again, then it would be the 30th week.
Okay, so that's really interesting to look at this. So if we were writing out the multiples for 3 and 5, right? Okay, so, sorry. Josh was like, well, the least common multiple is 15. They're both prime. We can multiply them together. If we were looking at it in a division ladder, if 3 times 5 is 15. That's the LCM. And that kind of helps you realize, okay, well, that means 15 weeks later, or 15 more later, they're going to meet again. And this is the key point. It's saying how many weeks. Don't get confused. Don't say, well, it's 15 because the first number that the least LCM is 15. Don't put 30 because that's the very next number. Okay? They're not meeting in 30 weeks again. It's the very next time it's 15. So it's going by 15. Okay? Theo. Huh? Oh, one says Percy, one says Perry. You had a name change when you got a shot. I don't know, guys. There's our Percy Jackson and Perry Glasses going on in this word problem. Okay, Good, I'm glad that you guys noticed that it was talking specifically about how many weeks were in between. Good job. Okay, I promised you time. Your assignment today is on page 218, and you're going to be doing numbers 6 through 19. Any questions before you get started? Okay.